Yo, guys, Justin James here, and it is Sunday, the day after the main event of Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Now, this was a trilogy fight, guys, and you got two dogs in here that have been in multiple trilogy fights. You look at Max Holloway, who has fought Alexander Volkanovski 3 times, lost to him, unfortunately. But to fight the same guy 3 times, especially when they're going to decision, like that is just insane. I believe that Dustin Poirier was coming into this contest 2-0, in their series. Volkanovski, beat the series 3-0 against Holloway as well. But Max Holloway was here to ruin Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, and ruin it he did. Now, as I was watching the fight, I thought it was a good fight. It was a very entertaining fight. There was there was some adversity both fighters had to get through, showed the toughness, but I'm not going to say it was anything more than a good fight. It wasn't a great fight. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't the fight of the year. I see some people like, oh my God, that second round was one of the best rounds I've ever seen in the history of MMA. And, I think there's a lot of nostalgia that goes into it. And guys are talking about because they've watched Dustin Poirier, and Max Holloway through the years and, watching Max bounce back. And guys, again, it was a great fight, but it wasn't above and beyond. Honestly, while I was watching the fight, I felt kind of like a glorified sparring match. Like Max hurt Dustin multiple times throughout that fight. And, I just never felt in the fight that Max was really looking to finish. I mean, he'd hurt him, he'd wobble him, his legs would get wobbly. Then Max would just kind of like follow him in. He never really started applying the pressure. It's again, maybe I'm being overly critical, and people are probably going to bash me and talk about how great this fight was. And I guess just because maybe because I'm spoiled, I'm surrounded by fighting all day, every day. I get to go to the gym and I get to watch guys like Sean Strickland, Chris Curtis, Francis Ngannou, Danny Ige, Daniel Zellhuber, go at it every day. Like, I have a very high expectation for me to consider a fight a great fight. It has to really be above and beyond. And I'm really happy for Dustin. I know it sucks that he lost. I lost a little bit of cash. He was the underdog in the fight. But man, the fight was good. It was a close. I didn't think the fight was very close. Personally, I had my unofficial scorecard 49-46. I thought Max won 4. I was watching the fight with Dennis Davis, Nate Pettit, Mads Burnell, and they kept saying, "Oh, it's 2-2 going to the 5th, 2-2 going to the 5th," and I was like, "Man, maybe I'm high," but I thought Max was controlling the fight from start to finish. And I know Dustin did drop Max. And I do think Max might be getting a little chinny. He had never been dropped through his career. He got dropped a couple fights ago against Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. He got knocked out against Poirier. Then he got dropped again. And, I'm worried about his chin becoming more suspect. And I know he wants a rematch with Ilia Topuria, but I think it's going to be the same outcome. I think, in his later years, and people are, oh, he's still really young. Yes, age-wise, he's really young, but Max Holloway has a lot of miles on. Like I said, I'm going against the grain here, guys. I thought it was a good fight. I was entertained, but here's the thing: like, I don't have ADD. I mean, I like to think I do, so I can take Adderall, But when I'm watching a fight, I want to be engaged. All right, I want to be watching. Oh my God, the only thing that's happening is what's happening right in front of me, and I can call a good fight when I'm watching a fight. And I can have a conversation. I can look over to my left. I can look over to my right. I can pull up my phone. I can answer texts, because that's really how I judge it. If I'm super engaged, like Dustin Poirier versus like Conor McGregor, like my phone was in my pocket. I'm on eggshells. Like, oh my God, oh, this is crazy. And the Dustin Poirier Max Holloway trilogy, again, I reiterate, it was good, but it wasn't like the fight of the year or something like that. I wanted to see Dustin win. I want to see Dustin go out on a win, in his retirement fight. But this is great for Max Holloway too, because Max Holloway is still active in the UFC. Max Holloway still feels he has some miles left. And after getting a big win over Dustin Poirier at lightweight, I mean, and he knocked out Justin Gaethje. So now we have this contender coming up. Justin Gaethje thinks that he should be next, which I can't argue with. It's very tough to argue with. But Max Holloway beat Justin Gaethje, and Max Holloway just beat Dustin Poirier. So, man, this is a tough one. I'm really excited to see how the UFC is going to handle this situation, because both Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje are deserving of that next title shot. And I'll be honest, I don't really, at this moment, until I watch some more pressers, until I watch, what Dana White thinks, like, I don't know what's next for the lightweight division. Who's next for Ilia Topuria? And then you have Islam at the top, who's fighting, Jack Del Molina, whatever. Man, there's just so many. The UFC right now, I think it's starting to go back up on that upward trend to a peak. People were saying, there hasn't been very much excitement, much here or there. We don't have superstars anymore. And I'll be honest, I don't think Dana White wants superstars in the UFC, because they have too much bargaining power, and he wants to control the narrative. And I think having Islam at 170, having Ilia, now you have Max Holloway go up. What if Max Holloway can beat Ilia? And then do we have Islam versus Max Holloway? Man, there's just so many great fights that can be on the horizon because of how this fight went. I'm bummed for Dustin Poirier because he lost. But he definitely lost that fight. And if anybody thinks that Dustin Poirier won that fight, I hate to tell you that you're just wrong, man. I'm a big Dustin Poirier fan. I'm a big Max Holloway fan. But Dustin Poirier lost that fight 49-46. That's how I scored it. That's how two of the judges scored it. One of the judges scored it 49-47. I'm okay with it. But again, I had it 49-46. Man, just see these two legends go in there and slug it out. And Dustin, man, how can you not be a fan of Dustin Poirier? At the press conference, he says, like, yeah, I kept looking up at the clock because I knew at 10 seconds we're going to point down and do that thing. And then, Max hit me with a couple of shots. I was like, we're going to grapple for the last 8 seconds. He doesn't want to get knocked out on TV. And, I was talking with Dennis Davis last night, and we're saying, like, man, if Max Holloway was able to put Dustin Poirier's back against the fence and just make it a dogfight like that, he could have knocked Poirier out, man. I mean, it just, with how much speed and power Max Holloway possesses, I feel like sometimes he coasted a little bit. And when I say coasted, is he could have had higher output in the first, second, third, fourth, because in that last 10 seconds in that fifth round, and he does it over and over again, he's using all the energy he has in the reserve tank, but he just looks so good. I think if he did that a little earlier on in the fight, he could have knocked Dustin Poirier out. Guys, the lightweight division in the UFC is insane right now. The welterweight division is insane with Islam moving up. What is next for the lightweight division? What is next for Ilia Topuria? And what, most importantly, is next for Max Holloway? Guys, tell me in the comments what you think.